This is Sherry with Happy Gut for Life, and today I'm making red lentil tortillas. Red lentil tortillas is one of my favorite things to make because they're so easy and they only take a couple of ingredients. I mean, really you just need soaked red lentils and water, and then you're going to add a little seasoning to it, but that's pretty much it. The trickiest thing about making the tortillas is getting the right consistency. So you'll see a lot of recipes online, and most of them say to soak them in a certain amount of water and then blend them in the same water without changing it. But since with SCD, I kind of like to change the water. I think it's probably better to do. It's one of the things they recommend when using beans is that you don't just cook them in the same water. So I had to do some experimentation until I came up with the right proportions, but I did, and they turned out really good. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. I have my lentils, which have been soaking for, I think, about 6 hours. I do a minimum of 4, but I usually try to do more like 6 to 8, just to get them pretty soft. With lentils, you don't have to soak as long as on SCD as with other beans, like black beans or navy beans. They need like 12 hours, but lentils don't need as much soaking. I've seen different things on different SCD recommendations, but I always do at least 4, but usually 6. So I drain them out of their soaking water, and then I just rinse them off real quick, a little bit here. Then I just put them in my food processor, and this is where you're going to see a lot of differences in recipes. And I'm not really sure why, but you don't want them to be too watery. So a lot of recipes, like I mentioned, they have the, just put them in the blender with the water they soaked in. But we're not doing that, so we need to try to add the right amount. And I've had a lot of fails where it's like I have like way too much water in there, and there's not going to form any kind of tortilla. So if you do get too much water, adding a little coconut flour usually helps. If you happen to have lentil flour from Welby's, that works really well too. Actually works the best, but it's not easy to come by. So if you have coconut flour, add in like a tablespoon, try that, see if it, give it a minute to absorb after you blend it, and see if that gets the right consistency. Here's where we're going to add some seasoning to it as well. So I have some salt, a teaspoon of salt, and then I have a teaspoon of the super garlic seasoning from Balanced Bites. That seasoning is okay, I wrote to them, and they do not add anything other than what is on the label. That's what they confirmed to me. You can add fresh garlic, that works well. You can add roasted garlic, you can add whatever seasonings that you might want in the tortilla, or you can just have salt. I wouldn't have it plain, you should at least add some salt in there. So I'm going to add that. Then I also like to add in some lime juice, so I also put in a teaspoon of that. So teaspoon is how I flavor mine. And then what I do is I start with a half a cup of water. And sometimes that is enough, so we will see if that works. And if it's too thick, then I'll just add a little more water to it. So this consistency looks pretty good. You can see it's kind of got that corn meal texture if you're making like polenta. So that's what we want. So I'm just gonna say that's good and leave it as is, so we are ready to fry them. So we're gonna add our batter to the hot pan. I have a medium ice cream scoop. That's what I use. I kind of make them small because they're easier to flip. And I don't make them super thin. I do flatten them out from here, but you could do it thinner. They're just easier to turn if they're a little thicker, so you can experiment with how you like to do it. I just kind of spread them out a little bit like this. And then I cook them about 3 minutes on each side over medium heat. It's kind of like a pancake. Put a little olive oil in the pan, just a tiny bit to kind of crisp them up a little bit, but I don't keep re-adding oil, I just cook them. This is one of the few places where I use my non-stick pan. I do it over medium heat, it's not real hot. If you don't like using non-stick pan, you can use something else. They will stick a little bit though, that's why I like using the non-stick one. It's a lot easier to flip them. So you might want to use a little more oil. Once they're ready, you just flip them over and do the other side. I do like to kind of smush them down a little bit because they're not, like I said, they're not like real thin. I've seen people make thinner ones. I don't know if they have a tortilla press or they're just really good at getting them thin, but this is about as thin as I get them. When they're done, I just put them on this wire rack to let them cool off completely. Doesn't take very long at all. And then they're ready for you to use for tacos. Sometimes I use them for like sandwich bread, really. You can put anything on there you want. You can also cut them up and bake them for chips or put them in. I usually actually put mine in the air fryer for a few minutes and they get crispy and make tortilla chips. So they're pretty versatile. If you'll notice, they're not like really floppy. Like I've seen some recipes where they're actually more flexible, like a soft taco shell, but those ones usually have some other ingredients in them, like eggs and maybe some kind of coconut flour or something else that kind of makes them a little more pliable. But this is the very basic recipe: soaked lentils, water, and whatever seasonings you want. Here's all the finished tortillas. I got about 9 of these smaller ones. I like to make them small just because I find it easier, but I made the last one big so you can kind of see that. If you can use that for, it's still a little flexible. You can use that for a wrap or something like that. And that is my recipe for red lentil tortillas. For more of my recipes, visit happycutforlife.com and be sure to subscribe so you can catch all of my videos.